Good afternoon, everyone. Gabe Velazquez here with you, transparenttrading-solutions.com for a Tuesday, August 22nd, in front of NVIDIA earnings and Jackson Hole speech on Friday. Those are the two main events beginning after the market tomorrow. Lots of hype around NVIDIA earnings, as everybody knows. Probably not going to do anything, right? It's almost right. So, the markets are going to always baffle everybody. So the fact that everybody's hyping up on this NVIDIA, the NVIDIA earnings probably wouldn't shock me if it, I mean, obviously it's going to have some kind of movement, but probably not what it did last quarter, where it just blew out the earnings. It was up like 100 points or something. Anyways, welcome everybody. So a couple things. Again, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I do have a class. There is time for that. I've got over 40 signed up already, but so it's going to be in about 2 hours from, well, actually, by the time this is posted, it's 4 o'clock Pacific. So it's going to, it's still about an hour and a half or something. We'll get this posted here soon. In any event, yeah. So if there's a link down below. You can go ahead, and if you want to attend, it's about the VIX, which is very important, as you know, these days. I'll go through some process to help you take. This is not for day trading. I want to make sure everybody understands. By the way, day trading is a long odds game. If you've ever, in 35 years of doing this, I've literally never met anybody that has has been around for any length of time day trading. Just throw that out there. I know some of you may disagree, but evidence is contrary to that. So anyways, all right. Yeah, let's get into the markets. Let's get into the charts and check it out. Not a lot really that we didn't discuss. So everybody should be able to see the charts, right? A couple things. So we had a trade. Actually, want to start with that just so you guys are transparent, right? So I'm using Tesla as a proxy for the S&P, and the reason I'm doing that is very simple. If you take a look here, I want to actually spend a little time with everybody on that. If you take a look at Tesla, the beta on Tesla on this stock versus the S&P, and I've done this in the past with my members in terms of using certain stocks that are highly correlated to the markets, and then using those to add some juice to buying and selling the market. So in this case, I used Tesla. We bought calls on Tesla when Tesla was hitting here. We bought these on Friday, and my premise was that the S&P was hitting this level down here. Okay, and so we went ahead and bought some calls going out to September. As the S&P was touching this morning and Tesla was touching 240, we exited the first 5 minutes of this morning, and we did really, really well with this. So we netted about $1,000 per contract if you traded these right here. So we actually exited first thing this morning right when the stock was around 240. And now we're kind of neutral on the market and Tesla. So I'll talk about this, how we actually also looked at the VIX on this in the class today. So that was obviously not all trades work out, and all that good stuff. There's no guarantees ever and all that, but this one actually worked out pretty good. So buying it here, selling it there, using calls to do that. So that was I wanted to mention that. Okay, in fact, we had a few stop outs last week, and this obviously covered that plus more. We also, so that was there. Now, getting into just going into the futures market, there really isn't a lot that I wanted to cover today, because a lot of the markets, if you take a look at, let's start with the S&P here real quick. You'll notice that the S&P did bounce off him at that same level on the SPY that we just mentioned right here. And now we came right up, actually nicked that by a little bit, and now we're kind of in no man's land. I suspect that the market is going to now start churning and burning like it did up here. The NVIDIA earnings are obviously going to be a market mover. It is a big stock. It's at the tip of the spear of AI, so probably has an impact on the S&P and the Nasdaq. But for now, generally speaking, we're kind of just in no man's land. We haven't really had any momentum carry to the downside. So pick your poison. If you're a bear, you'll probably look at that and say the market's bearish. If you're a bull, you'll probably look at this. This is one of the things why I personally do not subscribe to labels. Right. So if you're a bear, you're going to look at that. If you're a bull, you're going to look at that. Right. For me, buy low and sell high. I have no qualms in any of this environment, buying low, selling high. If you did that, you're much better off than, talking about bulls and bears and all that nonsense. So anyways, so that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of in no man's land, because on one hand, you could say, well, is the correction over against that, or is this the beginning of a reversal? You always, again, it's always after the fact, hindsight being 2020, you're always going to, after the fact, point to the, if this actually collapses here, you could have made the same argument, like say right there, and said, well, that, that's a bull run. And then, the market, or I'm sorry, like up here, something like that, you could have made the same argument there. And said, okay, well, the market's off to the races. And then sure enough, what happens? Market comes out. By the way, that little dot right there was Jackson Hole last year. So that's why I kind of made mention of that. So where we're at right now is, who knows? Bottom line is, I've got some levels below I want to buy, and the gap up top I want to sell. That's really what it comes down to in terms of any kind of trading situation in the S&P. But today we got out of Tesla. Just like the market is, we're going to kind of stand on the sideline and see what transpires in the next couple of days with NVIDIA and then Jackson Hole. Also, again, the Nasdaq, in fact, had about a 300-point rally from there, and then gave back some of it today from that level right there, but nothing spectacular. If NVIDIA blows it out, we're probably going to be looking to short all the way up here as well on the S&P. On the Nasdaq, and possibly these levels down here look pretty good to me right here on the Nasdaq going long. Everything else really, you can see the Dow just big range here, clearly set up in a range. We'll see again. That's going to probably get resolved by the end of the week. Also, similarly, the Russell been very, very weak, relative strength, just nothing going on here. You can see big old massive range relative to the highs, total underperformer. Again, I would just call this a big, massive range from these two blue lines. This puts us right in no man's land, right between these two highs and lows, and therefore very, very tricky to engage the markets in the middle part of the move. I typically do not engage the market in the middle part of these massive ranges. Why? Because if you think about it, that rally right there, you got some bounces, but pretty much every level blew out until you got down to the extremes, and then the market took off. Similar here, you see that big rally, everybody want to buy pullbacks in here. You got a little bit bounces, but you see all the levels blew out all the way down to here. So that's part of the reason why it's not a high probability type of situation. Okay. Bonds are the key. Bonds are sitting right at 1 year lows. You can see the 30-year. trying to bounce off that 117.14 low from last year. The 10-year similarly right there. So we are right on the cusp of these. Either bonds are going to bottom here. What I suspect will probably happen is we'll make a nominal new low, trap a bunch of shorts. Well, bearish sentiment on bonds is extreme right now. Everybody short bonds. Everybody thinks rates are going higher. Generally, when that happens, you know, there's probably not a lot of downside left. That doesn't mean there isn't any more downside, but I think the downside is limited. I think we're probably close to peaking in rates. We are looking to buy TLT again. I think I mentioned that the other day. So be careful if you're going to short bonds here after this massive drop in prices and massive move in yields. Generally, it's not a good idea. You know, like again, if you were shorting rates up here, you know, that was not a good play. And you know, generally we're right up against the high. So on one hand, it's probably still, you can't short anything above that because there's no levels. You can look at the 10-year, however, and there are some levels below in the 10-year where I think starting to look at maybe some buying opportunities in the 10-year below current price down a line here. Okay. Dollar also right on the right, you know, had the, you know, this goes back to what I think I talked about this in the newsletter. And, you know, when you were looking at the dollar down here, everybody, you know, was talking about bearish dollar and, you know, the dollar is going to lose its world reserve currency status and all that jazz. That was here. Everybody was short the dollar, and now we're full circled back up to here. So now we're kind of at another kind of inflection point. I suspect, again, we may go a little bit higher, but similar to rates, I think the dollar is probably about ready to peak somewhere up in here. I would be looking to short the dollar, maybe buy some currencies up here. And obviously the Jackson Hole is probably going to be more impactful for the dollar and rates than the NVIDIA earnings. But you never know. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at there. You know, all the currencies just chop. I mean, it's really, you know, they've been kind of drifting. The euro kind of just been really just meandering lower. Just the, you know, this kind of meandering kind of movement, which makes it really, really difficult to trade unless you can sit through all of the swings. If you're short, then you're fine. But I know very few people that can actually sit through all the swings. The yen just again this has been pretty steady down. Now we're starting to base out a little bit. Maybe the momentum is waning here. I do believe at some point, especially if we break to a new low down here, the Bank of Japan is probably going to jump in and intervene. You know, we're sitting right at some really critical levels as well in the yen, so we'll see on that. And then all the rest of the currencies, just I mean, just if you zoom in on here, you can see how choppy. Look at this thing, just chop. Even the rest of the currencies, really, the Swissy. Look at this Swissy. Again, drifting, no question, it's been drifting lower, but look at these swings here as well. And then the Aussie at some critical levels as well. But you can see over the last several days, it's been just, again, just kind of holding, but not really making any kind of progress further down, which means that the downside moves are slowing down. And even these downside moves had some pretty nice swings back and forth. These are 100-point swings, by the way, just in case you're wondering. If you shorted down there, there's no way you would have sat through this. So shorting here would have been at rallies rather than selling breaks. Selling breaks would have got you whacked, right? And you know, peso also, you can see just kind of been choppy. One of the things that's interesting is silver acting better, possibly setting up for some levels up here. This kind of is a new level forming, but nothing big deal. Gold dead in the water. Oil also just dead. Not a lot going on there. So that is the markets we're in right now. It's been, you know, look at nat gas. So not a lot going on here. Even the grain markets now have, looking at corn, you can see corn has been in a range. It looks like it wants to break out above 506. Soybeans, been all over them, chopping here, been all over the map. And so that's really not a lot of good price action across really a lot of these markets. I would say, you know, looks like the NASDAQ is probably going to be your best bet coming into NVIDIA. That's had some really decent movement. But again, what we've been focused on is some of these stocks. I mean, if you saw like Dick's Sporting Good today, that thing just got destroyed. This is where the action is, you guys. If you don't know options and you're trying to trade futures, you probably want to expand your horizon just a little bit. This thing got destroyed today. We had Tesla. We were in options in Tesla. We were last week. We had we were looking at some of these earnings plays. We've got by the way, we've got Snowflake. We're looking at. We've got Dollar Tree, which could be Dick's situation. I've seen that stock, in fact, our last big trade we did, which was Dollar General, which was similar to Dick's. We caught that one for a 30-point move to the downside, that type of thing. So all the action is a lot of the action is in the stock market, in the earnings. And so, be flexible enough to understand all the different components of the market. If you're struggling with some, with just trading futures, you may want to try to expand your horizon. I will probably be running another options class if you're interested in that coming up. Ping me, put some commentary on the thing, or contact me at support@Transparent Trade Solutions if you're interested in something like that. Okay. All right, everybody. Again, it's still time to sign up for the class. It's going to be in about what is it? About an hour and a half. No, actually, what is it today? It's 1:30 right now. By the time we post it, you'll see this up around about 40. So about 2 hours from now, 4 o'clock Pacific. If you're still interested, there's still time for that. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you on Friday, and we'll see what happens with NVIDIA earnings, and then follow that up with the Jackson Hole speech at 7 Pacific on Friday, which is going to be the big one too. Okay. All right. Take care.